Hello, my beautiful soul family, and welcome to another episode of Unshackled. I'm Jo Draper, I'm your host, and I am so thrilled that you are here with me. I have just come off the back of a beautiful weekend. I've been out sailing on the yacht, I've been out around Thailand, exploring, doing a little road trip, seeing some beautiful waterfalls, checking out some beautiful beaches. So it's Monday morning, my cup is full, and I am ready to hit the road running and jump into a beautiful week ahead. I'm feeling called today to share an episode on creating new habits. If you listen to the last episode, it was all about consistency over time and how we cement things in our life, how we make changes is through using consistency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that episode and I'm going to expand on it a little bit. I'm going to share some new insights, some deeper insights, and specifically, how do we create new habits into our lives? Often when we think about habits, our mind automatically jumps to a bad habit. So I have this bad habit. Maybe I overeat. Maybe I overdrink. Maybe I indulge in too much chocolate. Maybe I bite my nails. Maybe I spend too much time watching Netflix. But what I want to invite you to think about some healthy habits that you have created in your life. Maybe you're a really punctual person. Maybe you are highly motivated when it comes to work. Maybe you're highly motivated when it comes to exercise. Maybe you're already eat really healthy and that is healthy choices for you to make. So firstly, just have a think about maybe some unhealthy behaviors that you might be engaging in, but also what are the healthy behaviors you're engaging in? What comes naturally for you? Maybe you've already made some changes and you've already shifted some habits that were perhaps not so healthy, and you've shifted those habits from unhealthy behaviors into more healthy behaviors. So just take a little moment and contemplate, where do I already have good habits in my life? And then I'm sure of some of your maybe unhealthier habits, you'll probably already have some awareness around that. And I'd also like you to consider that your bad habits or your unhealthy habits, you probably didn't consciously choose them. You probably didn't make a decision at age 25 that I'm going to continue to overdrink. You probably didn't make the decision that when emotions come up and I don't necessarily know how to process them or deal with them, I'm going to binge eat. These aren't conscious decisions that we make. These are habits that are formed over time, usually as some form of protective mechanism to make us temporarily feel better, to temporarily feel some relief, that it gives us some sort of satisfaction. And here is the thing with anything that we engage in. When we see something as pleasure, our body will naturally move towards it. So for example, if you find relief in binge eating, your body will naturally want to binge eat because it believes on the other side of that is this freedom. It feels good. It relieves endorphins in my brain. So I'll overeat all this sugar. And we perceive this as pleasure. Have you ever wondered why for some people it's really easy to exercise and for other people it's pushed and it's forced and they've got to really work hard at it, and it's like it's this habit that is so hard to create? And here is the difference. One person perceives exercise as easy, as fun, as enjoyable. I like the way it makes me feel. It makes me feel good. It releases endorphins. I like how I feel fit and strong. Whereas the other person might think, oh, I don't enjoy it. I've got to drag myself out of bed. Exercise isn't for me. It's painful. It's sweaty. It's gross. I don't like it, whatever it is. But you can see my point being that one person is seeing this as pleasure and the other person is seeing it as pain. And to create new healthy habits, what we need to be able to do is shift our mindset from seeing something as pleasure and shifting it to pain. So for example, if you're binge eating, or say you're eating a food that's really unhealthy, but you see it as pleasure, like I'm eating excess sugar and the chocolate and it makes me feel really good. It's like you think about that and it's pleasure and it feels exciting and it's great. But if you can shift that and think that actually makes me feel sick, it makes me feel a bit nauseous, it upsets my stomach, it makes me gain weight, it increases my chances of disease, it's unhealthy, then you will naturally want to shift away from it. And the trick, guys, with changing a behavior is getting it into our subconscious mind. So we have our conscious mind, and this is only about 5%. This is the thoughts we have that we are aware of. So we can be saying in our conscious mind, I want to stop overeating, I want to stop drinking, I want to stop watching excessive porn or Netflix. But our conscious mind sees the pleasure in this. It is a habit that is being created in our conscious mind. In our subconscious mind. So what we need to do is we need to be able to shift this and make our habits unconscious, make our habits easy. So guys, I want to share with you, I have had a lot of personal experience in shifting habits and behaviors. And one thing that was always really easy for me was exercise. I always loved exercise. I love moving my body. I loved the way it made me feel. And even, when I was young and, really engaging in some unhealthy behaviors of, eating very unhealthy food and drinking and smoking cigarettes, exercise was always a priority for me. So that was something that was already in my subconscious mind because it made me feel good. It made my body fit and strong. I liked the way it made me feel. So I was always highly motivated for that. But I'll share with you some of the examples where I didn't have healthy behaviors at all. I used to smoke a packet of cigarettes a day. I did this for about 15 years. It took me many, many attempts to quit. I used to eat very unhealthy food. I think for many years I hardly put a vegetable in my body. And I know for many people this will be mind-blowing because now I'm all about healthy eating and healthy living. I used to drink excessively, and this went on for many years. Now I eat very healthy. I rarely drink. Never in my wildest dreams would I consider even putting a cigarette in my mouth. So there was a time when all of these things seemed so unachievable for me. And even my journey to quit smoking, it took me about 12 attempts to actually quit smoking. And I would try again and again and again, and somehow I would always find my way back to cigarettes. And I know for some of you listening, if you are a smoker or if you've ever been a smoker, it's very likely that you will really relate to this conversation. So I guess the question is how did I shift from being a pack-a-day smoker to somebody that would never touch a cigarette? And this is what is absolutely mind-blowing about this whole situation. This particular event, it was actually a book that I read. It was called Alan Carr, The Only Way to Quit Smoking. And I read this book and I never touched a cigarette again. And what had happened through this experience is something in my subconscious mind shifted. Something shifted so deeply, my belief systems changed, my thoughts changed. And the thing that was completely mind-blowing for me is for the first time in all my many attempts to quit smoking, I did not have physical withdrawals. And this was the oddest thing to me. I remember this so clearly. I was living in London, in Putney, and I was on the high street and I was walking behind somebody and I could see a cigarette. And I had this thought, this is so bizarre. I feel nothing. I feel no physical withdrawal. I feel nothing by looking at that cigarette. My brain had been rewired. My habits had been completely shifted in that very moment where I never wanted to touch a cigarette again. Now, this to me, guys, is mind-blowing and probably why I do the work that I do. Because if I can apply this to cigarettes, I can apply this to any area of my life. And this is something I'll often do with my clients when they have a shift like this and all of a sudden this old engraved habit and behavior has completely shifted. I'm like, let that empower you. Let that be the stepping stone which forces you, which empowers you to make better decisions in other places. If you can do it for that, you can do it for something else. If you can overcome your drinking, you can apply that to sugar. If you can apply that to sugar, you can apply that to cigarettes. If you can apply that to cigarettes, you can apply that to excessive binge watching TV. So let's jump back into the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind. There is a term called neuroplasticity, and this is the ability to create new neural pathways and strengthen them. There's a saying called neurons that fire together, wire together. So this is when we have a thought pattern and we have it again and again and again. And if you think about a habit and how a habit becomes ingrained, what happens is all these thousands and thousands of little neurons in our brain, they're firing. Every time we have a thought, they're firing in our brain. And when the thoughts continue, the neurons literally start to fuse together. Neurons that fire together, wire together. The brain has 100 billion neural cells and over time can create new pathways. So the more we use them, the more permanent we become. And I'm sure you've all heard of that old saying that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. So all we need to do is shift our neural pathways, shift our thoughts, and do this consistently for 21 days. And then the new habit is ingrained. The new habit is moved into our subconscious mind where it becomes easy and where it becomes effortless. What I would love to invite you guys to do is I want you to think about something in your life where you have shifted a habit. Now, you may done this consciously. You may have done this with a lot of force, with a lot of training, with a lot of push, or maybe it just happened naturally. Maybe, one day you were a heavy drinker and then you just decided you didn't want that anymore and you stopped. Maybe you were a smoker and you decided you didn't want that anymore. Maybe you used to be a massive procrastinator and then one day you decided I didn't want that anymore and it shifted. So I want you to think back at a time in your life where you have managed to already shift a behavior. What did it look like? What happened? Was it something that somebody said and all of a sudden it just shifted something in your brain and you no longer wanted it? Was it something that took a bit more effort and this was the consistency over time and you really had to work towards building this new habit? I hear a lot of people say that when they have children, they just no longer really want to drink anymore. And that is because getting up with a hangover with kids is apparently not a whole lot of fun. So if you think about something shifted in our external world, it made us think differently. And then all of a sudden that new habit was just installed like this. So explore this. Have a think about all the areas in your life this has already happened, maybe consciously or unconsciously. And I want you to explore this. What happened through this process? How did I do this? But more importantly, I want you to really use this to empower yourself. If I did it in this area, how can I apply this in other areas of my life? Get familiar with what happened to you through that process. Was it something you saw? Was it a lesson? Maybe you were a heavy drinker and then you had a family member get liver disease or something, or you were a smoker and you had a great aunt that died of cancer. And this was the wake-up call that shifted something in your subconscious, which made you no longer want it. And then all of a sudden, a new habit was created or old habit disappeared. Neuroplasticity is a really beautiful thing because it means we can adapt to new empowering habits. And here's the thing, guys, the unconscious mind will go to work to find evidence what you believe to be true. So for example, if you constantly say things like, "Oh, my life is so hard," your subconscious mind will go, "Okay, that's what you believe. Let's find reinforcement. Let's strengthen that belief system. Let's find evidence that this is true." And things in your life will continue to happen that is hard. And I want you to apply this to creating new habits. Say, for example, you've tried to reduce your drinking many times and you say things like, "Oh, it's just so hard. When this time comes of day, whatever happens, it's just so hard for me to do this." The more you tell yourself that it is hard, the more you will find evidence that it is hard, the more you will prove that it is hard. I'd also love you to have a think about, so if there is something in your life that you're wanting to change, whatever that is, what do you tell yourself? What is the story around that? Do you tell yourself that you really enjoy it? So think about what behavior it is that you want to shift. Okay, you want to drink less, eat less, you want to be more motivated, you want to exercise more. But then you tell yourself things like, "Oh, but I don't really love exercise. It's not really that fun. I don't love the gym." This is something I hear a lot. Joe, I don't like the gym. Awesome. Don't go to the freaking gym. Do you know what I mean? Swim, dance, play soccer, do anything. There are so many things to do today. We have so many options. Just really listen to the story that you're telling yourself. Remember, in the last episode, we spoke about the finger monkey. The finger monkey wants the status quo, the path of least resistance. Keep what is. Don't change. Don't make me uncomfortable. And it's the same thing trying to create a new habit. It's like your brain will jump on there. This finger monkey will latch on and tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't, why you can't do it, why it's not a good idea. Oh, don't get up this morning at 5 a.m. and exercise. You're tired. You didn't sleep so well last night. Finger monkey, keeping what is comfortable. Laying in bed for you is comfortable. So you're going to avoid the discomfort of getting up to the alarm, creating the new habit. Guys, go and just do it for 21 days. Get up, even if it's raining outside, even if it's dark and it's cold, even if you don't feel like it, even if you're low on energy. I can't tell you how many times I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like exercising. And you're out there and you're doing it and it feels incredible. And we all know this. I believe we've all done this. We have those days where we just don't feel like it and we push through and then we feel amazing and so grateful that we did it. So guys, really have a think about this. Where in my life have I already created good habits? Look at the good habits, look at the bad habits. Where have I created good habits? Where in my life would I like to shift some unhealthy habits? Consider the story that you might be telling yourself. Oh, it's hard. I don't want to do it. It's not the time. Because the more you can identify with this bullshit story that we tell ourselves, awareness is the first step of change. Gain the awareness, and then you can start to shift it, then you can start to change it. And a lot of the time we don't want to see it, right? We don't want to see our mess and we don't want to see the stories that we're telling ourselves because, again, we want to stay with what is comfortable. So have a really good, hard look at yourself. If I want to shift something, what are the stories I am telling myself to keep myself stuck, to keep myself where I am, to keep status quo? What is the new behavior, the new habit that I want to create? Write it down, declare it that you're going to do it, and spend the next 21 days committed. Even if it's uncomfortable, do it for 21 days. Get it into your unconscious mind. Get it in this ingrained behavior that gets to become easy. Let me know how this lands for you guys. If there is something, if you're having a few little aha moments, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a message on Instagram at iam.joedraper. I do have places available and open for private coaching. So if you would like to create new habits in any areas of your life, please reach out, drop me a message. I would love to be able to support you through the journey. If this lands for you, if you've gotten anything at all from this podcast, I would really appreciate you sharing this, share on your socials, drop an email to a friend, let them know that, they could really benefit from this. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I love connecting with you in this space. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, and we will connect again on the next episode. All the love.